But I wanted to bring you to this, Sam, which is the chairman of Qantas today said something really interesting. Now, what his future is, I don't know, and I am not campaigning for a chairman's lounge place, right? I'm sweet, I'm fine, I'm a virgin boy.
I like that you got in there.
I don't give a step, please. Not interested. He said that he would like Qantas to be more humble. And I thought this was a perfect thing to say, regardless of how complicated, whether how realistic that is or none, all the rest of it. One of the many reasons Qantas has got itself into the position that it has got itself into is that we talk an awful lot about Qantas, including an awful lot about an airline that's not about the core business of the airline. There's always sort of this other staff, CEO, sort of PR, all the rest of it. Do you agree with the chairman, if nothing else, a more humble airline, which just means kind of shut up and get back to basics?
No, I do. And I think to the extent that people talk about the business of the airline, their experience is late and cancelled flights. It is super expensive flights. It is travel credits that just go missing. It's these ghost flights that we've been reading about so much over the last couple of days. So the actual mechanics of the airline is pretty shitty.
Yep.
And we were talking in the break. I've got a background working with the Transport Workers Union once upon a time, and the union will say they have not created a single permanent full-time job under wing since Alan Joyce has been there. So these are the backbone of the working class. These good quality, high-paid engineering jobs. You start out as a baggage handler, you end up in the ramp, you end up in engineering, you go all the way through. Those jobs are dead. You don't get those jobs anymore. And that's largely because of Alan Joyce, who's now walking away with, millions and millions of dollars golden handshake.
Well, and again, two things can be true at the same time, right? Which is that all of those things might have happened to the airline. Conversely, we live in a world where bosses are rewarded for financial outcomes. The financial outcome here is pretty significant because of superannuation and lots of other things. A lot of people have shares whether they want to or not. So there's a design issue that results in his bonus. He's never going to hand it off. They're just going to sort of cut and run on him now. But I wanted to ask you this, Matt, where, again, one of the conversations that should have been propping up in this moment where Qantas is needing to realign its business is the treatment of regional Australia. Now, I showed last night on TV what the cost is to fly within your own state, including literally if you want to fly from Launceston to Hobart, you've got to go via Melbourne. If you're somebody who wants to go from Rockhampton to Brisbane, and of course, not everyone's going to the Ekka, not everyone's going to watch the Broncos, you might be going there because that's where the medical specialist is, or that's where the lawyer is, or that's where the family member is.
That's right.
And the reality is that if you want to fly between Sydney and Melbourne, you might luck it for under $100. You want to fly between Townsville and Brisbane, you might luck it for under $300. Do you think that the airline has a capacity to actually deal with that? Or is the assumption just, again, because most of the media don't fly these routes, well, they'll just keep screwing you?
Well, I'm very concerned about that. I mean, it was happening a bit before COVID, although after a bit of pressure, things did get a little bit better. But now it's much, much worse. And you're absolutely right about the essential nature of these flights to capital cities from regional areas. They're like our toll roads. In the cities, you've got to take a toll to get from one part of the city to another. It's a few bucks. For us in regional Australia to go see, as you say, specialists, to go see professional services like doctors, accountants, do business, you've often got to go to the capital city. And it's a cost of doing business, it's a cost of living in regional Australia. And now it's pretty hard to get a flight from Rockhampton to Brisbane, where I'm from, for under $200 one way. It used to be around 130 before the pandemic. So it's a real cost for people. And I've had a brick wall with Qantas and Virgin. It's not just Qantas. You shouldn't let Virgin off the hook here either. They're both as bad as each other here. I think they've found a sweet spot post-pandemic where they're restricting supply. And that's letting them keep their prices high, and they're working in cahoots to do that.
What's the Coles and Woolies effect?
And that's why the decision about Qatar, it was international flights, but the decision about Qatar is so disappointing. It shows the government's reluctance here to seek to introduce more competition. And talking about humility, it would be good to see the Prime Minister show some humility this week, admit he's got this wrong, admit at least to conduct a review of the decision like his own state governments and national presidents are asking for. But instead, we're seeing a very arrogant Albanese this week. We're seeing arrogant Albo, who was refusing to have any criticism of his own decisions and just digging in despite the massive community outrage about Qantas on his decision.
Yeah,